Okay, the link is here. Boom. Okay, the link above will get you to the lesson. There we go. We got people coming in. Let's go. Let's get in here. Make sure I can see my Teams chat as well. Boom. Ooh. Okay. Okay, if you are one of my students, welcome. If you're not, welcome. I'm wondering if you can hear me. Is everything working all right? I'm looking at my Teams chat on the other computer. Can someone just tell me that the sound is working and that everything's up to snuff? I guess I'm muted. Can you hear me in the live chat? It's working. Okay. Live chat has sound. Teams is muted so that we don't get that ear-breaking reverb and echo, right? Okay. Okay, good. So illustration pens, you guys got a really decent kit. In fact, like that was one of the most expensive items in your art kit were those Micron pens. And yeah, there was only it was a 3-pack. You have an 03. You can see on the ends, a little bit of focus. That does say 03. My camera doesn't want to focus. There it is. Okay, 03, and then you have an 01, and you have an 05 in your kit. And that is like your most basic beginner phase of small, medium, and large of your pens. Micron produces a whole bunch of other ones. I have an 02. I have a couple 02s. A BR, which is a regular brush pen. It has a bigger kind of nib that's bendy, like a paintbrush. And then I have a 1, not a 01, but a big old 1. And you can see that it's got quite a chunky tip. And so on and so forth. Now, Micron is one name brand pen. I really like it. And so do, if you go and look at established, well-to-do artists who are pen and ink artists, they're using these, they're holding these as well in their hands during their videos, like when you get to watch them work. I love it when they post those things because it has archival ink. It won't fade over time from light. And it's also supposed to be waterproof and fade proof. So it's really, really a good product. Okay. Another good name brand, although might be a little pricier. Ooh, I found some more Microns. I have an 08 as well. And a 005. This one I like. So your smallest one is a 01. This is a 005. It is like, you can't see the nib. It's so teeny tiny, so fine. You get gorgeous lines, the most beautiful, lightest lines. Then you also have another name brand, the Copics or Copics. They have a multi-liner. They're the alcohol-based markers that a lot of people love to work with, myself included. They also have a line of pens, and they follow the same thing where they have 03s, 05s, 1s, 8s, so on and so forth. They have the brush type pen as well, which is lovely to work with. Easy to get dynamic lines that go thick and thin and thick and thin. What else is fun? If you fall in love with illustration pens, I recommend getting a white pen. There's this kind, Jelly Roll. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the Jelly Roll, but it came in a 3-pack and with different nib sizes. I've never used them before. I tried them. I don't find that the ink is as opaque as I'd like. And I have to really go over things, let it dry, go over it, and layer it to get the white to be non-transparent. So, there was another kind of white pen that I absolutely love, but I'm drawing a blank on the name brand of it. And my texting is open. If you have a white pen name brand, if you've got the one that really, really works well, share the name brand with it. So if you've already been inking and you have your own sets of pens, white pens, pull them all out. We're going to take a note on the... Hold up. Someone's got their sound on. Jillian. Hold on a second. Mute. There we go. Okay. So if you're one of my students, you can be copying down this note. We're going to explore and experiment with illustration pens. If you are one of my students and you want to learn the artistic techniques, you don't necessarily need to, you get to pick and choose. You're not my student. You're free to do what you want. Okay, so I'm working with an 05, just a bit thicker than my thinnest one. Okay, artistic techniques, illustration pens. We are going to learn about 3 different artistic techniques. So let's draw 3 boxes. For the 3 different artistic techniques. This one, hatching. And stippling. Okay. So hatching is just parallel lines that when you put the parallel lines closer together, you get a darker value. And when you spread them out, you get a lighter value. So again, the elements and principles of design are going to come up in this conversation. So with hatching, they're just parallel lines. Simple as that. You can go in different directions. You can do like 5 in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then switch directions, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's one way of using hatching. And create like a pattern. And fill in areas with parallel lines, and it's very pleasing. Like that. If you bring the lines closer together, you can see that you're getting a darker value. Oops. You don't want them to crisscross over each other. That's a whole different thing. So we're just side by side parallel lines. How close can you get them without crisscrossing? And then when you have them very spaced out, it's a much lighter value. So perhaps you have a medium, a dark, and lighter areas. So hatching is good for that. You can create your value by putting the lines closer together or spreading them out. You can also create a sense of form by curving your hatching. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to be straight lines. You can make them round. So it doesn't have to be straight. It can be round. Give it a shot. Give it a try. Take it slow. If you're super new at this and you don't have those fine muscle controls, those fine muscle micro muscles that help you control your pen, you have to develop them. It's not going to happen overnight. Your brain may tell you to do something, but your hand hasn't learned how to control the pen properly yet. So be patient with yourselves. Slow down. Okay. What you don't want to see are lines where you you start moving your pen back, and I'm exaggerating it here, where you've done your hatching and you've started to pull your pen back for the next stroke, and they look like letter J's or fish hooks or whatever. Okay, so these are not clean hatching marks. Okay, so no fish hooks. I don't know what I'm drawing here. No fish hooks. Okay, slow down, take your time. This is a sign of rushing and carelessness. Okay, so slow down, take your time, build up your skills. Okay, cross hatching. This isn't brain surgery, guys. It's not very complicated. It is just hatching, but we've got the lines crisscrossing each other. Let's go for a medium-like mark again. So we have hatching lines. Okay, we're good at that. I'm comfortable. And then you go in the opposite direction. Let's see if we can go even darker. Let's do a dark band here. So you're just going to use the same technique. Put your marks, do a row of parallel marks, and then do a cross row. Ooh, let's get them really close together. Here's where we can crisscross till our hearts are content. Till we can get that nice, rich, dark value. Now it can be orderly depending on your style, or it can be a little bit messier where you crisscross and overlap and just, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can go over it a few times to really darken it. So have an area in this safe testing zone where you're simply trying out the new artistic technique. You're not worried about making it look like something. You're just practicing using it. So can you layer your hatching to get in a very, very dark spot in this box using this technique? Can you get an area in this box where it's a medium level of hatching? Go ahead. Can you have an area that's neat, where it's orderly, looks like a checkerboard? And how does it feel when you try out the messier approach? Does that feel more natural to you? Does that bring you closer to a nice Zen feeling? Look at that. And then have an area in this section that is how light. It still has to be cross hatching, but can you, woo, I went outside the box. Oh my gosh. Can you make a lighter value by dispersing your cross hatching marks? Spreading them out. Dispersing is a great word. It's the best accurate word for this. Spread them out. Okay. There's a light area. And then once again, you can curve your cross hatching. They don't have to be rigid, straight marks. And this really, really creates that sense of roundness of form. You think of like computer images and their contour lines. Try doing a couple curved cross hatching. What do you get? Awesome. And now the last artistic technique that people use with illustration pens that you commonly see is stippling. And this is, it's very time consuming, but oh my goodness, does it give a satisfying finish. So let's start really, really dark. They're just dots, just simple points. You don't hear anything except a little soft, maybe ASMR tap. And I'm just putting little dots and I'm trying to get them really close together to get a dark value. So really layer it up. My pen is not moving once it hits the page. It is directly up and down. I don't need to use a lot of pressure. I have some students who just like stab their sketchbooks with the pen and then it breaks the nib or bends it. Just ruins the pen. So be gentle. You don't need to use force. It'll happen. Relax. Just light little taps. Get it really dark. Boom, boom, boom. And again, you're already realizing, ooh, this takes a little time. It is true. But good art takes a lot of time, as you guys are quickly learning if you've been following my lessons. Okay. So we don't have all day. We are going to slowly disperse. We're going from dark. Let's go to a medium. So we are dispersing our little points, our little dots, our stipples, letting the white of the page shine through a bit more. And let's try for a good gradation. Maybe you have to go back and add a few more so that the transition is smooth. That's good. And then boop, boop, boop. Spread out again. I can feel the muscles in my hands starting to cramp up a bit. How about you? It's a good workout. Oh. And then let's spread it out a little further. Make sure that they're dots and that they're not flecks, that they aren't little lines. Control and patience. Boom. Okay, so we did not evenly distribute the medium, the light, and the dark in this box. And that's all right. We're just trying things out, right? So here we talked about what is messy looking line making, where you create these little fish hooks because you don't lift your pen up before moving it back to start the next line. You can have a same messy effect here. So we can have a grumpy face looking this way, where you stipple messy. Okay, and I'll hold the book up to the camera. Hopefully, there it is. See that? Okay, you can see the difference between the line making, the mark making I did in the example box and beside this little grumpy dude. One looks like, you know, a hairy mess. So we don't want that kind of effect. Messes. Okay, this is just absolutely sloppy. Meh. Unless you were going for a texture, you were drawing like a cartoon character who needed to shave her legs or something like that. Not that I'm anti hair, body hair, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Okay. Beautiful. I'm giving you guys a little bit of time. I have comments in my other chat group that they are not patient enough for this. That's okay. You'll get it. You'll develop patience. Take a breath. It's also the afternoon, right? Oh, man. I can't find my something that I'm looking for. Okay, you can create a sense of value by condensing or dispersing your marks. So you can have a full range of value from black to white. By condensing or dispersing your marks. Okay, with a pencil, not a pen, I want you to softly, lightly draw 6 circles. They don't have to be big. We'll just fit it all on this one page. Remember, when you draw a circle, you want it to come from your shoulder. You have to go over it a couple times to get the right shape. Real light. We don't want to see the pencils later. They're just guiding us. And they'll be erased or hidden entirely. So don't draw hard. Draw nice and lightly. Boom. That is an ink smudge. What are you going to do? Oh dear. Your comments in the other chat's funny. Okay, so I've drawn 6 circles very lightly in pencil. You can just see it in the video. And now what we're going to do is we're going to play with visual texture. Visual texture is the illusion of something looking wooden, furry, scaly, whatever you like. But getting that kind of texture. And illustration pens are just so fun to get textures. It's almost like a Zen tangle where you are picking a pattern and you're working with that pattern. So our patterns, instead of just lines and shapes, we're going to be going for fur, feathers, scales, and those kind of textures that you see often in nature. So we want these circles to be transformed into spheres, something that is 3D and has form. So let's imagine that our light source is coming from the top right-hand corner of the page and shining down on these circles that we're going to change into spheres. All right. So let's practice and review what a sphere looks like. We're going to have a highlight over here because the light source is coming down on it, and it's going to be darker on this side. And of course, we're going to have to play with cast shadows. So using a combination of hatching and cross hatching, I want you to use curved lines to create that sense of form, okay? 3D form. So I'm going to go in here, and my lines are going to mimic the 3D form of this sphere. If my lines go counterintuitive, kind of go against the form that I'm going for, then it'll get ruined, right? So start off lightly and gradually build up that feeling, that illusion of 3D form. And once I feel like I've got my direction of my lines down in a pleasing manner, I can go back in and always add more ink. What you can't do, folks, is erase this. This is permanent. Remember, we're going to see gradation and a change in value as we move towards the top, towards the light source. So now that I kind of have the sense of it, I got the base first layer down, I'm going to add on more Still kind of keeping with that sense of form. And I recommend you guys turning your books around so that you're pulling your lines towards yourself. Makes it a little bit easier. I'm sure you're already deciding, like, I like tidy mark making. I like messy mark making. What naturally do you have? Someone's using water in my house, and that might be the white noise that you're hearing in the background of this video. And that, using the hose, I'll have, I need like a red light out my studio so that they know when I'm filming and not to make odd water noises and using the hose. Just layering this, kind of slipping into that Zen mode that you can find when you're doing inking, that repetitive, methodical action. There we go. And I'm going to do a cast shadow because that's what's going to communicate to my viewers that this form is 3D. Ta-da! Not too shabby. So this is just a combination of hatching and cross hatching. How about fur? Do you think we can create something that's covered in fur? Let's use our imagination a little bit here and let's draw some critters that are furry. You can decide what kind of an animal this is going to be. It's going to be pretty much a circular animal for me. Stick with the sphere feeling. But I'm going to put a little face on this dude because it's fun. Just a little face. And then the rest is all going to be fur. Now, this is why we did our circular thing in pencil. Because fur doesn't have a solid outline. You want this to be broken, jaggedy lines, and the longer your strokes are, the fluffier this creature, whatever it is, that's how long their fur will be. So I'm using broken lines, some of them cut back on themselves. And there we go. So that's just the base of it. let's add more in because right now it's a flat critter. Okay, it's just an outline. It's a circular, it's a furry circle. Okay, so in order to make it a 3D furry sphere, we need to have highlights, midtones, and shadows. The trick is to create these marks, these light, medium, and dark marks, using a furry mark making. So I'm going to go in, kind of keep that jaggedy, spastic kind of mark making. Maybe there's, because it's fur, sometimes there's highlights on fur, some parts stick out, some are hidden back in shadows. So really keep it random and natural. If it's orderly, then it kind of seems man-made and it doesn't communicate the naturalness of fur. So this little critter, there we go. And then as I move up out of the darker parts, I'm going to spread out my marks. And then maybe just become hatching, even more spread out. I want this ear to be in a bit of, casting a bit of a shadow. So I'm going to throw a shadow back there. And then this critter feels a little bit more alive, believable, 3D form. And of course, throw a little shadow under there, and boom, it's alive. Just give me some time to catch up, keep up with me. And we're going to call this our last drawing for today. We're going to finish this one. We're going to do some scales and we'll pick up these 3 tomorrow. Okay, so let's do this scales. We're going to start off with a little face. I don't know. I just love making critters when I do this activity. I mean, you could just do a patch of scales, but realistically, if you were drawing a critter, then there'd be eyes and nose and mouth. So I like to do the faces and like hint at a body and try out the texture on the body. But yeah, if I just did a patch, it doesn't really help me. So I'm starting with the eye, and use your imagination, kids. Like, you know, have some fun with this. Go ahead. You can even switch to your other pens. I've been using an 05 for all of this. You can throw some details in. In fact, I could throw my pen around the room, or I could place it down neatly. Options. I'm going to switch over to an 01. I like reptilian skin. I like to create weird things, weird lizards and dragons and things like that. It's such a fascinating texture. So I start with the eye, and then I move out I repeat the circle of the eye. So I'm thinking of how its skin is softer around its eye so that it can blink. And then as I move away from the eye, I'm going to put a little nose in here, just a hint of a nose, and let's do its lips, its mouth. So okay. So there's its mouth. It would have, in my imagination, some scales. It's always better to have a visual reference in front of you, but we're just playing around with textures, seeing what we get. When you're doing these scales, think of the eye as the center of the universe of this little creature, and try to go for these checkerboard patterns that radiate out from the eye. So we've got our square-like patterns, but don't do the squares with complete lines. Let them be jagged, let them be loose, let the caffeinated twitches of your hand come through and create the form. Maybe we want a few little armored spikes to come out. That could be fun. So squishy triangles, I guess. And they have softer skin down here. They're softer bellies. Maybe emphasize the rolls with some round contour lines. Okay, it's 1:30. I'm going to end this this YouTube video. Thank you for watching, and we'll continue this tomorrow morning. If you are one of my students, please pay attention to the Teams meeting. We need to go over there.